Kamaru Usman, first up, the backup fighter for UFC 228's main event.
What an incredible specimen.
He does not have the fight, but he is, again, the backup fighter for the main event in case anything happens to either of the two fighters, Tyron Woodley and Darren Till.
And on the scale now.
What are you doing?
169.
169 for Kamaru
169,
Usman.
that's pretty amazing, man.
The backup fighter for UFC 228, 169.
169, he gets down by a pound, maybe as a statement, you know? And
That does feel
talked
like
to
a
him
statement.
yesterday, he was at 181 and he had no problems. The guy's been doing this for a long time as a former collegiate wrestler, and that's how professionals do it right there, Sean.
That is some championship weight making. Well done, Kamaru Usman. So he will be paid for making weight. He is obviously on standby now in case anything happens in the next 24 hours with Tyron Woodley or Darren Till. And next up on the scale, Alex White. Alex White faces Jim Miller on Saturday night, a lightweight prospect, fighting Jim Miller, the old grizzled veteran. White coming off a loss to James Krause. $155 for Alex White, who fights Jim Miller on Saturday.
Tell you what, that's precision weight cutting right there, making that weight, and it's fun to watch these guys get that scale just right. That pin.
It's always a sense of relief, for sure.
I saw him kind of nudging it the wrong way there, but he went back and corrected himself. So,
A little early shout out to Mr. Mark Raimondi, my good friend and show co-host on Wednesdays, the A-Side live chat. They're using the beam scale. They're using the beam scale, and he is a big proponent of the beam scale.
Okay.
Irene Aldana?
Here we
I
go.
will revisit that later. Irene Aldana.
We might get through with
later.
this thing in about 15 minutes, Sean, at this rate.
I'm sorry, Irene Aldana up now. Bantamweight fighter fighting on the UFC Fight Pass prelims.
One of 4 female fights on this card.
She's coming off of a decision win over Talita Bernardo. That was back in January. $135 for
On the
Irene
dot.
Aldana. She was supposed to fight Betch Correa earlier this year, actually last month at UFC 227. That fight was pulled off, but now Irene Aldana, 135, makes weight easy for UFC 228. And as I was saying, they're using the beam scale this time, and since the UFC has transitioned back to the beam scale, things have been a little smoother at weigh-ins.
That's true. Here's our second white tonight.
I like that rhyme, Chuck. Craig White, who's fighting another veteran, Diego Sanchez, on the UFC Fight Pass headliner, welterweight fight.
The whites against the stalwarts in this one.
It really is.
He's confident on that scale.
171.
171
and
for Craig
and a
White.
look of why not from Craig White on that one.
He faces again Diego Sanchez on the UFC Fight Pass.
Imagine how
headliner.
spooky that would be to have to go against Diego Sanchez. I tell you what, I admire his aplomb in the situation.
Darren Till?
And here is a big
this
one,
is-
folks. Darren Till.
Darren Till.
This is the moment we have been waiting for for weeks.
I love this no nonsense, get it out of the way quickly as a nutritionist. Owen Gallagher said that he wanted to do this quickly, and he's been on weight, I was told, since 8 o'clock last night. So he really nipped it in the bud this time and took the criticism seriously.
It really felt like he took it personally. He was taking it personally all week. He was sick of hearing about it,
He
frankly.
sure was. He sure was.
We shall see.
We're stuck in that sock gap right now. And Till has the socks off.
$169.
169 for Darren Till.
We've
There's
got-
an uproarious
You wanna
applause
talk
behind
about a
us from his
statement,
team.
huh?
I would
We
say
joked
that's
about this.
I would
We
say
joked
that's a
about it.
statement, Chuck.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was very methodical the way he got down this time. He's got a nutrition team under the Lockhart banner. And
Again, if you're just joining us, Darren Till 169, championship weight +1.
And here comes his counterpart right now. We're about to find out if our fight is official. Tyrone Woodley is getting ready to step on that scale.
Tyrone Woodley, the UFC welterweight champion of the world, up next.
Good old Tyrone. Trying to take the drama out of the room, get our championship fight right at the top.
$171.
Oh,
got a
that's
problem.
not good. 171 for
champ, and
Tyron
he
Woodley.
looked perplexed when they read that number.
He
to
did
him.
look confused. He did not expect that. So it is a championship fight. You have to
They
make
are.
170.
They're going to try it again.
Put
We've
the
got the
towel in
towel
front
coming
there.
out here.
You have
This
to
is
make
one of
170
the high
pounds.
drama moments that we've seen in the sport. When the towel comes out, all bets are off.
So we will have to, obviously, actually, let's wait for this. He needs to make 170 on the dot.
Looking for 170.
170.
And he makes it.
There it
There's a
goes.
Big sigh of relief in this room right now, Sean.
170 for Tyron Woodley. That maybe didn't go how he planned, but at least he made
Very
it.
large exhale behind us here of the fan base and the faithful who've showed up to make sure that we have a title fight, and it is official.
So Tyron Woodley, 170, Darren Till, 169. That title fight is official. UFC 228's main event is a go. Kamaru Usman, again, also making weight as the backup fighter, but it appears he will not be needed unless something drastic happens over the next 24 hours. Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till.
Yeah.
That fight is on.
And here we go with our developing story here.
Up next is Carolina.
Yes, very much. Karolina Kowalkiewicz up next. And again, Nico Montano, the UFC women's flyweight champion, is out of her, or not, I'm sorry, I should not say that. She was hospitalized
Doubtful.
this morning. And so there is a possibility the UFC could tap one of these strawweights as a replacement. That is still a developing story. But in the meantime, Karolina Kowalkiewicz weighing in now.
$115.
115 on the nose.
115 for Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who fights Jessica Andrade in what should be basically a #1 contender fight this Saturday.
That should be a really good fight.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, Chuck, that's the most important fight on the card that is not a title fight.
100%. I think it's the closest one you can actually infer some stakes on, and think that the winner puts themselves in a very good position in that division.
That name got butchered a bit, but
Yeah.
Zabit Magomedsharipov coming up next. I think some people,
That
Chuck,
drew.
have pinpointed Zabit as a future title
so.
contender, a
Think
future
so.
star at this 145-pound division. He certainly casts an
Yeah.
imposing, very lanky figure
He is a
for
lanky
featherweight.
figure, but a beast. Look at those shoulders, Sean. It's kind of like a Giacometti. It starts kind of big at the top, and then it rolls into a very thin frame. But he's certainly a dynamic fighter.
Zabit Magomedsharipov yesterday telling me that he wants his nickname to be Zabist.
The Beast.
I like it.
It has a nice ring to it.
Said that nickname was given to him by his coach, Mark Henry.
At least Mark Henry gave it to him in English. We know that Mr. Henry likes to assign foreign languages to his fighters a lot of times.
147.
Oh,
147.
147 for Zabit Magomedsharipov. We may be seeing the towel
We'll be
again.
seeing the towel second appearance.
They weigh themselves right.
So this is a curious situation. We have now a couple people that have been 1 pound up or above or below the weight they're supposed to be. Maybe you wonder if something's
Surprises
off with the
both
scale.
ends,
There's a
yeah.
lot of surprise on the faces of the fighters.
A lot of fluctuation. We've got the towel out now. High drama as the commission plays with the scale setting. Taking a good look.
146 and a half.
146 and a half for Zabit Magomedsharipov. He misses weight by half a pound.
Yeah,
We will find out for you folks.
right.
So every state is different. I'm unsure about Texas regulations, whether he will get additional time to cut weight. This is not a championship fight. Sometimes that matters. I will find out for you guys the process for Zabit Magomedsharipov.
There seems to be some discussion up here. I'm not sure to what extent, but it looks like Beat is at 146.
And now they have come to the conclusion that this
is
was
an
146.
very arbitrarily lost half a pound in that transaction, and the clause come in for
That was-
making a half a pound disappear.
That was very much a strange situation. There was a conversation.
Instead of every notch is a half pound.
I think
They're misreading your scale.
they're misreading. Oh,
Our own Esther Lynn is telling us that it appears they're reading the scale wrong. The Texas Commission
Texas,
is
here we
reading the
go.
scale wrong. She's taking, obviously, pictures of the scale and the numbers, and it seems as though they're reading it wrong.
Sean, it's always an adventure in the state of Texas, isn't it?
It really always is, Chuck. So maybe this has been figured out. Hopefully this is...
Onward we go with the show here.
Frank Camacho up next.
Frank in good spirits as always. Pleasant demeanor.
Welterweight fighter who is fighting Jeff Neal in the card opener, the first bout of the night on Saturday.
$171.
71.
171 for Frank Camacho.
Fresh face guy right there.
He does love himself some brawls, I'll tell
He
you,
does.
Chuck.
That should be a nice little fight to kick off the card.
Thanks, guys.
And we've a show of gratitude to the people who've turned up. Always nice to see.
Actually, there's a nice little
There is. There's a nice crowd here.
behind us of just
A little
fans.
bit of buzz in the room too. I like that. These early morning weigh-ins have certainly picked up an enthusiasm over the last couple of years.
Absolutely, it really has been a nice pace so far this morning. Jessica Andrade now up. She fights Karolina Kowalkiewicz in a pay-per-view fight on Saturday.
A
Really
swing bout,
important
if you will.
strawweight fight.
Big time fight. Andrade's won 5 of her last 6 fights, and you look at the who's who she's faced. Only losing, of course, to the then champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk. A heck of a run.
Heck of a run indeed. I mean, one of her wins was an absolute destruction over Claudia Gadelha.
That's
I
right.
think that was the most eye-opening win
Yeah.
of her career. She
This-
really does feel like the number one contender right
This
now,
fight
Chuck.
promises to be something pretty good right in the middle of that main card. More fiddling with the scale. The This seems like it should be a little bit more of an exact science, Sean.
You know, it's always an adventure here in Texas.
The scales of justice swinging both ways here. As Andrade sits patiently waiting for the verdict.
116.
116.
116 for Jessica Andrade. She makes it. The strawweight limit. She will fight Karolina Kowalkiewicz on Saturday night. And again, what
That
is my
fight is
mind, a
official.
number one contender fight.
That could very well be. Carolina being the last one to beat Rose Namajunas. So
Storylines abound in that fight.
there's a lot of storylines to be found in that fight.
Charles Byrd up next. He fights Darren Stewart on the preliminary card, FX preliminary card opener. It's a middleweight fight.
Lost his britches a little bit there. Corrected that. Charles Byrd.
We have John Dodson in the background here dancing up a storm while he waits his turn.
To see the
He just can't stop moving, Chuck.
185.
his hair keeps going in. It's pretty amazing.
185 for
transformation.
Charles Byrd.
185. That fight is official.
And again,
Middleweight
I'm
bout
sorry,
between
but
Byrd
John
and Stewart.
Dodson is just extremely distracted right now. He is dancing up a storm behind the stage, waiting
definitely-
for his turn. That man is a
We've
constant
certainly
motion.
earned an R rating this morning. The gyrations going on in the corner. John Dodson,
That man is in perpetual motion, my friend.
he is. And here he is.
He
He's-
comes
he is-
skipping to the stage. John Dodson, the magician, fights Jimmy Rivera in a very important fight.
That's a
Sneaky,
big-time fight.
good fight. It feels like it's getting overlooked on this card, but that is a very good fight.
There's always one of these. And, Jimmy Rivera coming off that loss tomorrow on the horizon. I think we're going to see a barn burner, I believe. Dodson giving the "oh, you don't say" look to the commission.
He's really watching him closely.
What a character, John Dodson.
135 and a half.
135 and a half.
135 and a half.
Jubilation from our Albuquerque product.
Feels like his
Does a series of
intense
poses.
eye pressure really threw off the commission there. He stumbled over the
Very
way.
intimidating look he was giving.
John Dodson coming off a split decision win over Pedro Munoz and could make waves with another win over Jimmy Rivera. That would be a nice little streak for him.
And here is Carla Esparza
Carla
now.
Esparza up next, the former UFC Women's Strawweight champion. She fights Tatiana Suarez
she
in a
does.
very, very important fight on the
Perfectly
preliminary card
placed.
headliner.
Perfectly placed on that card. I don't think any fight would maybe fetch the disposable income quite like a fight like this. Two wrestlers going right head to head.
You know, in my mind, Chuck, this is perfect matchmaking for both of
It
these
really
women.
is. A couple of Southern California products early on. Decorated wrestlers.
$115 and a half.
15 and a half. We got a big
15 and a half for Carla Esparza.
We're hearing that hook quite a bit, the half. Everybody's got the half.
Everybody's
tonight.
got the half tonight.
But at least so far, we've seen the towel a couple of times, but everybody has made it.
So if you're just joining us here this morning, Tyron Woodley and Darren Till both have made weight.
Made weight.
Darren Till
We're
coming in
official.
at 169 to maybe
A
perhaps
little
prove
bit of a
point.
statement. A
Yeah.
little bit of a statement there.
Next
Thanks to all
up,
the haters.
Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who actually opens up the pay-per-view card against Nico Price in a fight that, in my mind, is really one of the best fights, at least in terms of action, tomorrow night. I mean, that is a
100%.
perfect pay-per-view card
You like
opener.
to see this kind of thing where a guy needs, these guys could use some eyeballs, and I think kicking off this main card, this pay-per-view,
It feels like somebody's going to sleep in that fight.
100%.
Lots of knockouts between him and Nico Price. And really, it feels like the winner in that fight is probably on the precipice of that top 15 ranking
Yeah,
in this
100.
welterweight division.
It's a big fight to kind of get their name in the rotation there.
170 and a half.
170 and a half pounds. Another half pound, but I tell you what, Sean, so far so good. A lot of these guys are getting on the scale. Some of them have been more confident than others, but we're seeing a lot of relieved faces up there so far.
Yeah. We're about 20 minutes into the UFC 228 weigh-ins, and it has been a pretty good pace so far, Chuck. If you are just joining us, though, Nico Montano, the women's flyweight champion, was hospitalized this morning. That is a developing situation. We will update you on that as we get it. In the meantime, Cody Stamann up now. He fights Aljamain Sterling on the preliminary card. And another sneaky good fight. This card is deeper than some people are saying, at least.
I mean, where it lacks sexy names and the big names, it certainly makes up for competitive matchmaking. I mean, we've got some really some fights that look like they could really be barn burners of it. And this is certainly one of them.
Absolutely.
135 and a half.
The hook again, 135 and a half.
135 and a half for
Stamann.
Cody Stamann. He's on a nice run, too. I mean, he is undefeated in his UFC career. 3 straight wins over a couple, the last 2. I mean, Tom Duquesnoy and Brian Caraway. Those are 2 nice wins.
And wasting no time, Aljamain Sterling.
And here we
Here's
go.
the New York.
His
the New York
opponent,
faction
Aljamain
is here.
Sterling.
Matt Serra is in the room. Matt Serra sporting, of course, now a light heavyweight body, possibly heavyweight.
How dare you?
And the camouflage shorts.
Aljamain Sterling, of course, fighting Cody Stamann, who just weighed in on the FX
New York
prelims.
vocal minority letting themselves be heard as Sterling takes the scale. Sporting the gold chain.
135 and a half.
35 and a half. And
135.5 for
all of New
Aljamain
York
Sterling.
has lit up a cheer, Sean. What an incredible show of emotion there from Sterling.
Matt Serra getting some stage time, too.
You don't think Matt was not going to go across that stage and soak in a few of those applause, do you?
Again, another 0.5 shot, by the way.
I think
This whole entire card, it feels like, has been a 0.5.
they do. Is there a sports book that gives odds on these? Like, feels like there should be.
And we are moving right along to today's morning
humming
weigh-ins.
along.
This has been a
We've got a
fantastic
very
pace
eager
so far.
faction. We are still waiting a couple of the veterans. Diego Sanchez, Jim Miller. We have not seen a couple of the stalwarts come to the stage yet here. Scale.
I believe this is Jared Brooks.
This is Jared Brooks is here.
Jared Brooks!
Lively and in good spirits.
Jared Brooks, the UFC flyweight. He's fighting on the Fight Pass portion of the card. He's facing Roberto Sanchez, and he's enjoying himself.
A little
Look at that.
overzealous, almost knocked over that scale. Look at that, it's just a perma smile on that face. Wonderful.
He can't hold that pose forever.
Starting to shake.
125 and a half for Jared
45 and a
Brooks.
half. That is one happy man right there.
First fighter on here not to cut weight, so.
You hear that? He says he's the first fighter on here not to cut weight. Walking around at his natural weight, apparently, Sean. No wonder he's in such fine fettle. Completely hydrated. And onwards we go. And here we go. This is the intriguing one.
And here we
Valentina
go.
Shevchenko.
Valentina Shevchenko was supposed to challenge for the women's flyweight title in the co-main event today. Nico Montano, of course, was transported to the hospital this morning. This fight is in jeopardy. We are still awaiting word on what will be the decision, the result of this fight. In the meantime, Valentina Shevchenko about to tip the scales. And this, I mean,
Very
Chuck,
tough morning for our contender, who I think a lot of people think, the new flyweight division is tailor-made for her. This is supposed to be her coronation. It's very tough.
absolutely. And Chuck, this is not a new situation for her. She had a similar situation against Amanda Nunes last year, where a title fight was pulled out from under her really just hours before.
And I think, it's understandable that she's turned a little bit skeptical about this process.
Yeah, I mean, she
Expressing
has
through the media that she
all
wasn't
week.
sure Nico would be.
24 and a half.
124 and a half for Valentina Shevchenko, coming in half a pound under
Half a pound under.
the required weight. Again, perhaps a statement.
I think there was a little bit of a statement in the air there. She's been nothing but professional the whole week, and I do think she had her doubts as to whether we see Nico on the scale or at the fight. So,
And you can really see the disappointment in her face, too. Next up, Tatiana Suarez.
another one of our
In a very big fight against Carla Esparza in the preliminary card headliner.
a lot
And I
of
think
tomorrow's stars, showing up on this fight card. And
you
this
read
is-
my
this
mind
is
check.
one
I
of
think a
them.
lot of people have targeted Tatiana as a potential title contender, if not
Yeah.
champion, in this 115-pound class.
It's a huge hurdle she's got in front of her, Carla Esparza.
Tatiana casts a very imposing figure for a 115-pounder. She's
She sure
very
does.
big, very long, and just wrestling on a level that no one else in this division has, at least in terms
Grappling
of accolades.
Yeah.
You, of course, wrote a
What
very
piece,
nice feature about her.
Said that she sees shots, when she's in that cage, like the little boy in Sixth Sense sees dead people.
115.
115 for
115
Tatiana
on the nose.
Suarez. And in your piece
This is-
about her, she talked a little bit about her battles with cancer, having
course.
overcome cancer. A very incredible story, inspiring story for Tatiana Suarez.
You want to talk about somebody who knows how to cut weight. This was an Olympic hopeful in freestyle wrestling who has cut weight her whole life. Has been wrestling since she's 3.5 years old, and she's the one to watch, I think, on this card.
Absolutely. Well, hey, next up is Jeff Neal, who opens the card against Frank Camacho in a welterweight fight.
Jeff Neal, one of 3 fighters without a Wikipedia page on UFC 228. Our commission is getting the hang of this scale now. A little more celerity in how they're handling themselves.
$170 and a half.
170 and a half for
I'll tell you
Jeff
what,
Neal.
Neal looked a little suspicious of that reading, but he had one eyebrow cocked up pretty high there.
These halves, we just keep getting these halves all day, Chuck. Again, a very nice pace, though, at this weigh.
here.
Next up comes Brandon Davis, who's stepping in on 2 weeks' notice to fight Zabit
I like
Magomedov.
this kid's. I like this kid's attitude.
And one thing about Brandon Davis, this may be his first year in the promotion. He may be a new fighter. Fans may not know his name. He is already on his 4th UFC fight of 2018. He could get one more. He'll tie that
He
record,
mentioned he
all-time
wanted to
record.
step in and take on Zabit because it had been 3 months since he had last fought, as if that had been an eternity.
5, of course, in a calendar year being the record held by a couple guys, Donald Cerrone, Neil Magny. Brandon Davis could tie that
could do
in
that.
his first year in the promotion.
We're just getting into the fall season. Certainly some cards that need help toward the end of the year.
146.
146, professional as always.
146 for
Davis.
Brandon Davis, Contender Series alum, making the most of his first
He has
UFC
got
year,
a very tall task in front of him.
both literally and figuratively. Well done, my
100%.
friend.
Thank you. I'm getting the hang of this. I actually like this voice. This might be my new voice from now on. Oh, look at this.
Oh, look at this.
Have you ever seen such showmanship, Sean? This is
Oh.
and he almost now that
Oh, and he's getting
That was
around.
a trip.
Nico Price.
this
coming
is
up
one of
now.
those situations where a trip might have been real, might have been sincere, but he played it well and said it
played it
wasn't,
off very
but you're
well.
not sure now which that is.
Nico Price facing Abdul Razak Al Hassan on the pay-per-view opener, and he wanted to fight Abdul yesterday when I talked to him. He was just ready to go across that room and fight
is
him.
a
He
fun
was
kid
a
right
very
here.
fired up man.
Oh, he seems very put out by this process. He's having a dialogue with the fans here.
And Nico is really a prospect to watch. I mean, at this point, he is
100%.
basically 5-1 in the UFC, with those 5 being knockouts.
Certainly
170 and a half.
He's made it, and
For Nico Price.
some faux enthusiasm or something else. I'm not sure what that was, Sean.
He is enjoying himself.
We had a couple of thumbs that went sideways and then mostly down.
Oh, look at this.
Now we've got
Look
a little
at this.
dance.
Look at all of this
is
energy.
Terrific. That is energy to
A
spare.
little click of the heels on the way down.
And before he can even get off the stage, a legend, Diego Sanchez, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the last Ultimate Fighter 1
It
fighter
is.
contending, except for Chuck Liddell, who was the coach on the show, who has a fight coming up. But
Oh my God,
if we're
I can't
talking
believe.
about the participants, Diego Sanchez is the lone warrior still out there doing it.
And he is significantly less spirits than Nico Price, I will say.
All business. Diego Sanchez, statuesque.
He, of course, fights Craig White on the Fight Pass headliner.
I believe this is his 28th UFC fight, and that's you think about the kind of guys he stepped in there against.
171 for Diego Sanchez.
He's made it again. He is official for his 28th fight, John. That's going to be something.
A man of many nicknames.
What did he end up with recently? I'm not sure.
I think he's at Lionheart
He's
right
at
now.
Lionheart,
maybe? It's
okay.
been the dream, the
It has
nightmare.
evolved.
Oh, and here comes another
One of my favorite
veteran of the
fighters.
sport. Jim Miller. Lightweight stalwart.
Bad Moon Rising.
Jim Miller facing the other White of the card. He fights Alex White in a lightweight battle on the prelims.
That's
right
a lot to
before
say.
Diego
You just
Sanchez.
said a mouthful. Tell you what, Jim Miller, I haven't counted his fights, but he's got to be rivaling Diego Sanchez in the amount of the fights he's had in the octagon. He's the
Two
consummate
guys that
pro,
have
consummate warrior.
Seen it all in the UFC.
You think you get used to these weigh-ins, but Jim Miller showing that you just never know. Some uncertainty on his face. Maybe a little bit of a bemused smile.
155 and a half.
And old Redbeard has done it again, Sean. 155 and a half, not bad.
Old red beard, I like that.
Jim Miller, of course, brews his own beer and has, in his place in New Jersey, he hunts on his grounds.
A man of many
A
talents.
man of many talents.
She fights Irene Aldana in a women's bantamweight fight on the UFC Fight Pass prelims.
It's kind of funny, Sean. If they were to bump this fight, to the main card, you would still have the same amount of women's fights on that main card,
Yeah.
which is there were supposed to be 4 women's fights on this card. Now it's 3.
Lucy Pudilova weighing in. She needs to hit 136 pounds.
Precise operation here.
$134.
134.
134 for Lucy Pudilova coming in.
Look at
1
that.
pound under.
Very nice. A little bit of
She pushing out her stomach on that one.
making it look relatively easy, making that weight.
And with that,
Down
we
to
now
2.
have 2 fighters left, Chuck.
Oh, see, now there's Brooks.
And Jared Brooks here in the
Brooks
back, clapping
with a
very sarcastically
one-man-
for Roberto Sanchez.
One man, a very enthusiastic response from his opponent.
Jared
Today those
Brooks
hands
making
are
his
clapping.
presence felt.
Tomorrow they're throwing power at that chin.
And this is why you're such a wordsmith, my friend. Jared
Let's
Brooks
see what we got
watching
here.
intently in the
Jared
back
Brooks.
here as his opponent Roberto
There's
Sanchez
big tension in this room
tips
right
the
now.
scales.
Very humble stance as he waits.
126.
126 for
He is
Roberto
on weight.
Sanchez.
Is on weight.
He is on weight.
Brooks
There are
glares
still-
at him from across the ballroom here.
Jared Brooks mean mugging from
Yeah.
the back room of the back of the
Gotta be
ballroom.
honest, I do not think that Sanchez even looked at him once as he storms out of here.
Oh,
That's
no,
just
I'm
shadow
sorry.
play.
That was not Jimmy Rivera.
You're looking at the wrong guy, Sean. Rivera,
Jimmy Rivera hitting the scales.
the
now.
last to hit the scale.
He fights John Dodson on the FX prelims.
Big time drama.
136.
36, he did it.
136 for Jimmy Rivera, and
Rivera
that is
is
it
on weight. That
for
fight is
today.
official.
He is the last fighter of today's weigh-ins. He makes
Amazing.
weight for his fight against John Dodson. And that about does it for us, Chuck.
Yeah. Oh, that was
just,
fun, man.
just as a quick recap, every fighter on the card makes weight, with the exception of Nico Montano, who does not weigh in today. She was hospitalized this morning. Her fight against Valentina Shevchenko is off. But Darren Till coming in at 169 pounds, 1 pound under, to make a statement. Tyron Woodley also coming in after some slight drama.
Yeah.
He had to weigh in with the towel, but 170 pounds for the champion.
Made it.
And we have our main event set.
Got the main event. Now we just got to cross our fingers and knock on a bunch of wood, and hopefully tomorrow night when we show up, that's who's fighting.
Hopefully.
Yes.
You never know in this
I don't
sport.
take anything for granted
Not
anymore.
at this point. But in the meantime, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
My name is Sean O'Shadi. Mr. Man in the Hat here, Chuck Mindenhall
you,
joining
guys.
me. We're going to keep it locked. Please keep it locked to MMA Fighting. The rest of today and tomorrow, we will bring you all the goodies you have come to expect for us. Preview show coming up
Preview
later.
show.
Lots to discuss. Weigh-ins, official weigh-ins later as well. And tomorrow, a sneaky good card still, even with the loss of this co-main event. But in the meantime,
That might have been the least competitive fight on the. We never know, but I mean,
well, the odds certainly say so. The odds certainly say
you
so.
know,
But we will
there's so plenty of really competitive fights on there, though.
still very much so. But in the meantime, like I said, for Sean O'Shadi, Chuck Mindenhall, Casey, Esther, the entire MMA Fighting team, thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Weigh-In Stream.
See ya.
Have a good Friday.